You are now tuned in to the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Haney, for that lovely introduction. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is part 2 of the NFL Mock Draft, Episode 5, Season 15. In this episode, we are finalizing 18 through 31. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why are there only 31 picks this year? Because the Miami Dolphins forfeited their first-round pick due to tampering. We're trying to get TB12. But before we get into it, NFL draft is tomorrow. This video is recorded. I'm excited to see what is expected. I feel as though this draft will probably be the best one. I think there's some depth for sure. I can see some teams making some trades. I'm going to predict there are at least 5 trades in the first round. I do see a surprise reach within the top 15. I'm guaranteeing that will happen in tomorrow's draft.
Guaranteed!
Be also on the lookout for more WNBA content. The Washington Mystics announced their media day. It is actually next Monday. I will not be attending in person, but it'll be over Zoom. I'll have that recording up. I'm hoping to have some other teams up as well. But yeah, man, just more content. NFL draft grades. You'll see more content coming out in the next few days. This is part 2 of the mock draft, and we're picking up at number 18, with the 18th overall pick. The Detroit Lions have this pick. And this might surprise some people, but I say the Detroit Lions select Bijan Robinson. Now, I want you guys to understand this. Now, I'm a fan of DeAndre Swift. Here's the problem. His durability. And while I think David Montgomery is a more rounded running back than what Jamal Williams was, I feel as though they should look for a true running back. Now, I'm not saying that the Lions need to give up on DeAndre, but the injuries have creeped up, and I see David Montgomery being more of the backup. I think, particularly in this offense, I think that's really the biggest area you can address. You can make a case for tight end, but I think running back. I think everything depends on – I can see Detroit taking a running back. And I think he'd be a good fit for them. You know, he's a terrific third down running back. He has the skills when running and catching out the backfield. He has a great explosiveness. as running back, and particularly with a offense that has gotten better. And at one point of this past season was the number one ranked offense. I can definitely see that for the Detroit Lions. Number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Herndon Hooker. Now, painfully, it pains me to say this, but we have no idea what Kyle Trask is. He's unproven. The former number one overall pick from 5 years ago, Baker Mayfield, signed with them. This is his fourth team in 1 year. He is a U-Haul rental. I don't mean that. I'm just saying that metaphorically speaking. I don't really see any much expectations. We know just before he tore his ACL. I'm not concerned about his age. I know he's a couple years younger. He's 3 years younger than I am. He's 25. I know that may scare some people, but I think he is a great leader. I think to me, he's got the arm. He threw for over 3,000 yards. He almost had almost a 70% completion pass rating. He only threw 2 picks. And I think you need an identity. Now that TB12 is gone, like I said, I really thought last year Tom Brady threw a wrench in what they wanted to do. You could clearly see that it wasn't the same team from last year. Tom Brady looked older. And I think you have to go with the quarterback. I think you still have Mike Williams, Chris Godwin when healthy, Cameron Brate when healthy. It does not hurt to take a quarterback. And I don't know what you're going to get at Kyle Trask. And I predicted they were going to play. And I predicted, if you Sean Spencer, if he's watching, back me up on this. But we did a mock draft a couple years ago, and I predicted he would be their replacement. And sad to see a couple years later he's unproven. And it's not his fault, honestly, truthfully. It really isn't. Number 20, this is where things kind of got interesting for me. So if you remember, I had Seattle taking a defensive player. This time I have the Seattle Seahawks taking Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think they need a receiver. I love DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, but that depth behind them is a question mark. They need more depth, and unfortunately, Tyler Lockett's on the wrong. Would be probably, we don't know what he's gonna look like coming into this year. I know he turns 31 this year, so for me, I think if you're particularly insistent with Geno, you can use definitely a slot receiver. And when Tyler Lockett, when they decides to call it a career, when they move on from him, Jackson can move into that number 2 spot. I think he's a good fit for them. He's speedy, quick, smooth route running, all those things. So it checked off in my checkbox for Seattle to take a wide receiver. Number 21, I'm sorry, Ravens flock. I hate to do this to y'all, but this Los Angeles Chargers select Zay Flowers. Keenan Allen isn't getting any younger. Mike Williams, questioning his injuries. I don't know how much more you're going to get out of them, particularly Keenan Allen. I think you could probably get 2. I think Keenan Allen has a good at least 3, 4 more years on him. And Mike Williams' durability, we've all seen it. Last year, I thought his absence was a big difference. And even Jordan Palmer and, oh my gosh, the other wide receiver, I can't think of his name. The depth was needed badly. I think Zay Flowers will be a good boost for this offense. Now, particularly have Kellen Moore as new as offensive coordinator, and you can make a case for a tight end. I didn't make a case for a defensive player because defensively, I think they kind of went all in with 1 year deals with certain players, and it didn't pan out in certain situations. And then also too, the Chargers had a serious injury bug, but wide receiver to me is a position where they need to target the most. And with the 22nd overall pick, The Baltimore Ravens select Dante Banks at the University of Maryland College Park. The Ravens need corners. Let me just name you, other than Marlon Humphrey, who our corners are. Jalen Armour Davis, Brandon Stevens, Demarion Williams, Daryl Worley, Trevon Mullins, Kavon Seymour, Darius Williams. If you're expecting those guys to be like have a turnaround like that, I don't know what we're watching, because last year defensively we struggled to get stops.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
You know, when in this plenty of examples. You could lose the Miami game, the Buffalo game. Marcus Peters, and I'm very disturbed to see how we're pulling the plug and already saying I didn't say this. I heard this. I'm on Twitter. I'm in the Twitter spaces. We're saying he's trash. They're saying he's trash. He's not the same player. The man literally came off a potential career injury. We know he wasn't the same player. We know this. And he still went out there and gave it his all. But we do need a corner on the other side of Marlon Humphrey. The last time we drafted a corner, ironically, was Marlon Humphrey. And now he was not really valued defense. And some of these guys, look, Bo P. Keys, I'm not waiting on these guys. Trevon Mullins, this is his third, fourth NFL team. Kavon Seymour, I don't see what we see in him every year. I mean, I think he's just a backup. The time he's out there, he's getting burnt like toast. I understand the argument for a wide receiver, but we cannot ignore defense. We can sit here and make the argument, well, you could find those guys in second and third round. I'm sorry. It can't happen this time. We cannot ignore this defense, because this defense, if it had depth and if it had consistency at a lot of places, and that makes a difference. I like Dante Banks here with this pick because, one, because he went to Maryland. I'm being biased, but what's wrong with not taking a guy like him? I mean, he did a tremendous job at the combine. Ran a 4.3. He has the athleticism. We know he may not be the same type of ball hawk like Marcus Peters. He only had 2 interceptions in his whole 4 years he's with the Maryland Terrapins. Now, I considered Cam Smith. He would be a good candidate. Also considered Keelan Ringo. There's 3 corners there that Baltimore can take. You could even make the case that you probably need to look for a safety. But I think corner on the other side of Marlon Humphrey, wide receiver is a secondary position. Maybe offensive line. But to me, if you're Baltimore, corner should be the position you should take. You could take either one of these. But me personally, I would go with either one. But comfortably, me being biased with this pick, I'm saying Dante Banks. But I say Cam Smith, you can take Keelan Ringo. You can take anybody there, honestly and truthfully. Now, with the 23rd overall pick, I have the Minnesota Vikings taking Trenton Simpson. They really have a big void in the middle of their defense, and I think he'd be a good fit for them. I also consider Brian Branch here with this pick because I know Harrison Smith is not getting any younger in the backfield. He's 34 this year, I think, 34, 35. So I think defense could be a potential. I heard that potentially could take a quarterback here. But I think defense makes the most sense for Minnesota. I think Trenton has the size, he has the speed, and to me, he can cover. To me, he's a coverage linebacker, especially he's a run stopper. I think he would definitely fit a system like Minnesota. 24, I said Keely Ringo. Other than on the other side of Jacksonville, I thought the acquisition of Shaquille Griffin would have been a good signing, but it just hasn't panned out. Picked up a couple other guys who just haven't stepped up to the plate, and I think they just need to address defense on this one. For me, I like Keelan Ringo, Georgia boy. He has a size, he has an athleticism, and I think he would be really good for this Jacksonville defense. That's played really aggressive for me. So I could see them taking a corner because I think they're going to move on from him. They already moved on from Shaquille Griffin, but the other two I can see them probably potentially being cuts by spring training camp. So with the 25th overall pick, the New York G-Men select Quentin Johnston. Now, if you've watched this past playoff season, they need a receiver. The excuse me, the Kenny Galladay era in New York is officially over. Didn't pan out. He had just disappointed. I thought the Kenny Galladay from Detroit would have been a good fit for this team, but obviously was not. The only glaring weakness on Quentin Johnson at TCU, I mean, he's 6'3". I think he's an athletic wide receiver. I think he's coming in with a lot of expectations. He's had more touchdowns than any other New York Giant last season or the year before. Only weakness I see with Quentin is he's got to work on the drops. If he works on the drops, I think he'd be solid. Other than that, I think they should take a wide receiver. Other needs I saw for them, potentially defensive lineman, maybe corner, safety, but I say wide receiver because now that you need someone other than Darius Slayton, and Daniel Jones needs a playmaker, in my opinion. With the 26th overall pick, the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, but before we get into that, I have a clip for y'all.
Mediocre team and Big D. That's what makes this funny. How about the Cowboys? How about the Cowboys? Some way, somehow, when they count, just wait. They will let you down. The accident, they will mess it up. Just wait. The accident, they will let you down. Just wait. The accident, waiting to happen. It will happen. I'm predicting they're gonna be irrelevant. I'm predicting an absolute embarrassment for the last decade and a half. They make me laugh. All the talent that they have is unbelievable, man. Big D, these are you. This is what they do. Walking through weed, show up on cue. Accident, something will go wrong. Accident of the big Jumbotron. Accident, gotta recognize it's a black cat running around that franchise. Stay with it. Accident, they will mess it up. Just wait. The accident, they will let you down. Just wait. The accident. Waiting to happen. It will happen. How about the Cowboys?
With the 26th overall pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Dalton Classic out of Utah. Now, Dalton Schultz is no longer there in Dallas, and I feel like they could use a tight end. But I also made the case to make. They should consider defensive linemen, offensive linemen. They can really do a lot with this pick because what they've had, particularly on the left side of the ball for Dak, it could use some upgrading. I know Connor McGovern left in free agency, if not mistaken correctly. I consider Osiris Tolerance out of Florida, but I think they could really use a tight end in my personal opinion. To me, I feel like they need another playmaker. Even consider Bijan Robinson now that Ezekiel Elliott's gone, but Tony Pollard to me should be the number one guy. And you can always find out other running backs day one, day two, day three, in my personal opinion. But priority to me should be tight end, offensive line, defensive end. That's about it because you got Stephon Gilmore. So I think in the new offense with Brian Schottenheimer, I know offense line supporting, but he could also use a tight end. So with the 27th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills, select Drew Sanders. I think with Traylon Edmonds going to Chicago, and I think he would be a good fit alongside Matt Milano. It's curious to see how he'll look in this system, particularly with the running against the pass. I don't think it hurts them badly, but Tremaine Edmonds did play a significant role in that Buffalo defense the last few years. So I'm curious to see how that'll look. I don't think they need a receiver. I saw some mock drafts where they needed a wide receiver. To me, I think Isaiah McKenzie and those guys behind Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, I think are fine. They just need to be consistent with it. I think you have to utilize them a little bit more. I don't think drafting another wide receiver fixes the issues. You have an aging offensive line, and then also you had a running game that was virtually not even used. But I think you should buff up your defense, in my personal opinion, if you're Buffalo. Number 28, the Cincinnati Bengals select Antoine Harrison. Now, for me, it's funny. The year Jamar Chase was drafted, Penei Sewell was in that draft. In the last now 2 off seasons, my point has been proven that you should value offensive line. They did sign Zeus Jr., Orlando Brown Jr., which I think was a steal, big pickup. But Jonah Williams, I know the injuries, but he just is struggling. They need to really, really buff up that offensive line around Joe Burrow. I value offensive line. And he's a fellow Oklahoma boy alongside Orlando Brown Jr. And particularly run blocking. He's a good pass blocker as well. But I can really see them targeting offensive linemen. If they don't, I could see a corner because they could use some defense a little bit. Their corners are not the best. I can see potentially Emmanuel Forbes. I had him on my list potentially there. But I can see Cincinnati possibly making a trading down. But if you have my feet to the fire, I think they should address the right side of the offensive line. Other than that, it's solid. But before we get into the last 3 picks, let's get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're famous? Then why don't you check out Zagnif Apparel, where you can and you will dress like you're already famous. Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
And you can most certainly do that with a nice 15% off using my code BIGNATE for 15% off. Again, check out Zagnif Apparel. Thank you for Zagnif Apparel for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk We'll be right back after this commercial break. And we're back with the 29th overall pick. This pick has been now traded for this is now there's no running Saints pick. The San Francisco 49ers had this pick, the Dolphins had it, and then the Broncos. The 29th overall pick, I said I didn't write who, but I feel like this pick could be traded. I've rather put it down. I said Nolan Smith. I have it here on my notes. Defense from Cam Jordan. Not the same. He left free agency. Troy Hickson is definitely the guy they should go after. For me personally, I like Nolan Smith. He has the size. He has the athleticism. I think he'd be great. I also consider DJ Turner the second out of Michigan. But I really, really think they should consider the edge rusher out of Georgia. Let me just put his name in there really quick. Nolan Smith. I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot to write his name. Nolan Smith is who I think New Orleans Saints should and will take. 30. This might be a little controversial, but Keon White. Now, I know what you're thinking. I first and foremost, I don't think Howie Roseman sticks with the first round pick. I see it being traded. I've seen this story hundreds thousands of times. Particularly their defensive line's getting a little older, and I really think you need to address your defense a little bit. For me, I thought out of Georgia Tech, ironically, former tight end. He had 7.5 sacks, 14 tackle for losses. That's pretty good. He did really well at the combine. I think he benched 30 reps, 225. Outstanding. That defensive line, Philadelphia, can't stay any younger. I forgot who went to San Francisco. Was it Hargrave? I can't think of his name on top of my head. I apologize. But I know that defensive tackle, he departed for San Francisco. You could also case running back, because now that Miles Sanders is in Carolina, I was thinking of the kid out of Alabama. Jahmyr Gibbs, he comes to mind because I'm not comfortable with Rashard Penny, because Rashard Penny can't stay healthy. And other than that, if Boston Scott maybe could be your potential default number one running back, but it's going. I don't see Mr. Rosman keeping the number one overall pick. I see this pick. I see it actually being traded. And with the last pick in the first round of the 2023 NFL draft, the defending Super Bowl champion select Isaiah Folsky. Now, for me, Frank Clark is no longer on the team, and you drafted George Kalafis. That was a great pick, but I think you need a replacement for him. I don't think you need any other things. Maybe another corner, safety, linebacker. Linebacker wouldn't hurt, but you could find those guys at day 2, day 3. But I think Isaiah will be a good fit for them on the other side of George. Round-rounded player. For me, I think you'll see quick results in a Steve Spangolio defense. So I like this pick for him, Notre Dame boy. I can't see that. That's probably really this is I could see this, but I could also see them trading this pick too. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's the mock draft. If you notice a difference, I kind of went with offensive line heavy in the first one, and I felt like quarterbacks are not franchise changers. It looks like who the potential number 1 overall pick will be for the Carolina Panthers. That's the guy they're rolling with. I wish that quarterback all the best. I'm not comfortable with it because I don't like what's around him. Other than Miles Sanders, I'm not comfortable with the wide receivers that he would have to work with, nor the offensive line. So I think this is a good mock draft. We'll see what the draft night looks like tomorrow, but let's get into the final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
The final thought. Again, tomorrow is a big day for many young athletes, young men. This is a new chapter in your lives. I wish you all the best. I know you'll do well in this journey. As your name was waiting to be called, you need to shake your hand with the commissioner. And you get that phone call from the GM. I know for some, their names may not be called. And I wish everybody could be drafted. But understand that hard work does not go unnoticed. I'm a full believer in giving everybody opportunities. I know what everyone could bring to the table, drafted or undrafted. I've seen these past couple drafts, what some guys who went undrafted gotten paid. J.C. Jackson, probably one of the best corners in the game right now. He would have went undrafted, and just a premier corner in this league. I've seen some guys that were highly touted players and disappointed. But just remember, you're confident, your skill has gotten to this point. And I wish each and every one of these guys the best. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how they dress. I'm already kind of predicting some wild suits. So, but yeah, congratulations to the class of 2023. This should be a good draft. I think this draft arguably has some of the best talent, and I think this might be the draft that sets the table for building NFL teams going forward.
Guaranteed.
Really quick, I'm just getting a couple of predictions. There will be 5, as I said earlier, 5 first-round trades.
Guaranteed.
DeAndre Hopkins will be traded.
Guaranteed.
Lamar Jackson announces his contract signing with the Baltimore Ravens.
Guaranteed.
The Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City trade their first round picks.
Guaranteed.
There will be a reach a player that was not in the first round of mock drafts will be drafted in the first round.
Guaranteed.
That's my predictions. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude this episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can also listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Twitter, Facebook. Thank you so much for tuning in this episode. You'll tune in for the NFL draft grades. Enjoy the rest of y'all day. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. And have a great rest of your week. I'm out. Peace, y'all. Stay
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything.